Dhamanadama ki, Mathodadama ki, Dwarkadama ki, Mayapurdama ki, Gungamaye ki, Chamunamaye ki, Tulsi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Gaur Premananda Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Chanavalabha Girivardhari. Gopi Chanavalabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana. Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Jaya Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Ashwateda Shri Shrimad Divine Loving Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Gaur Premananda Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading this morning from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 86, text number 30. Chapter is entitled Arjuna Kidnaps Subhadra. Vacha. I'm sorry. 30 and 31. Oh dear, okay. Okay. So should I chant both the verses or just 31? Just, okay. Okay, thank you. Vacham madhuraya prinan idam mahanatarpitan padavanika kata Vishnu samspashati chanakar muda. Do we do the transliteration? And yeah, okay. So we'll just go to the translation, then we'll go to 31. When they had eaten to their full satisfaction for their further pleasure, the king, meaning King Bhalashva, began to speak slowly and in a gentle voice as he held Lord Vishnu's feet in his lap and happily massaged them. Text number 31. Shri Bahulasva Uvacha Bhavan hi sarva bhutanam Bhavan hi sarva bhutanam Atma Sakshi Svajik Vibho Atma Sakshi Svajik Vibho Atanastvad Padambojam Atanastvad Padambojam Smaratam Darshanam Gataha Smaratam Darshanam Gataha Shri Pulashva Uvacha Bhavan hi sarva bhutanam Atma Sakshi Svajik Vibho Atanastvat Padambojam Smaratam Darshanam Gataha. Shri Balushva Vacha Bhavani Sarva Bhutanam Atanastvat Padambojam Smaratam Darshanam Gataha. Shri Baluashva Vacha Bhavani Sarva Bhutanam Atma Sakshi Svajik Vibho Atanastvat Padambojam Smaratam Darshanam Gataha. Shri Baluashva Vacha Bhavani Sarva Bhutanam Atma Sakshi Svajik Vibho Atanastvad Padambojam Smaratam Darshanam Gataha. Vaishnavis? Shri Bahulashva Vacha Bhavani Sarva Bhutanam Atma Sakshi Svajik Vibho Atanastvad Padambojam Smaratam Darshanam Gataha. Shri Bahulashva Vacha Bhavani Sarva Bhutanam Atma Sakshi Svajik Vibho Atanastvad Padambojam Smaratam Darshanam Gataha. Shri Balarashva Vacha Bhavani Sarva Bhutanam Atma Sakshi Svadrik Vibho Atanastva Padambojam Smaranam Darshanam Gata Shri Balarashva Vacha Shri Bulashva said, Bhavan, you, he, indeed, Sarva, of all, Bhutanam, created beings, Atma, the Supreme Soul, Sakshi, the witness, Svadrik, self-illumined, Vibha, O Almighty One, Ata, thus, Na, to us, Twat, your, Pada Ambojam, lotus feet, Smaratam, who are remembering, Darshanam Kata, have become visible. Translation. Sri Bahulashva said, O Almighty Lord, you are the soul of all created beings, their self-illumined witness, and now you are giving your audience to us, who constantly meditate on your lotus feet. Translation again, please repeat. Sri Bahulashva said, O Almighty Lord, you are the soul of all created beings, their self-illumined witness. And now you are giving your audience to us, who constantly meditate on your lotus feet. Purport by the servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains Bahulashva's inner thoughts as follows. Bahulashva glorifies Lord Krishna as the inspiring soul of all life and consciousness, thinking that even an inert dullard like himself could be awakened to devotional service by his mercy. He glorifies the Lord as the witness of all pious and impious actions, confident that the Lord remembers whatever little devotional service he has ever done. And he glorifies him as self-illumined, never needing to be enlightened or informed by any external source, with the knowledge that the Lord has always been aware of Bahulashva's long-cherished secret desire to see him. Translation again. Sri Bahulashva said, O Almighty Lord, you are the soul of all created beings, their self-illumined witness, and now you are giving your audience to us who constantly meditate on your lotus feet. Om Ganatamarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshomilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Bhagadamayam Vidati Swapadantikam Bandeyam Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitang Tang Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Purajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangscha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before we begin this discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, I just wanted to express my heartfelt gratitude for having this opportunity to be with many old friends, some old friends and many new friends. I feel this is very auspicious for my own spiritual growth to be able to have more family members that I can reach out to and be nourished in my Krishna consciousness. So I just want to thank you. And especially thank the devotees here for creating such an amazing, beautiful spiritual environment with Radha Nila Madhava, and Shri Gaurnatai and Shri Giriraj. It's very, very nourishing for the soul. So this morning we are reading from the chapter entitled Arjuna Kidnaps Subhadra. And does everyone here want to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam this morning? Do you really want to hear Srimad Bhagavatam this morning? I mean, do you want to hear the Bhagavatam as if it was your next breath? There was one time a devotee told me a story. There was one time a guru, he went to his disciple, asked him, how eager should one be to hear Bhagavatam? And he said, he didn't answer. So that morning the disciple went down to the riverbank to bathe, and the spiritual master was there. And while they're bathing, he grabbed him by the sika and he pulled him underwater. And the disciple was struggling and struggling and struggling. He was like shaking. He just wanted to breathe so much. And he pulled him out. And the disciple went, So he said, that is how eager we have to be to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Because actually in the material world, everyone's suffering. And everyone's it's not only suffering, but we're suffocating. Right? We're suffocating, our soul is suffocating due to lack of spiritual oxygen. Right? It's like last night we read that beautiful prayer by Sanatana Goswami. I have not memorized it yet, but did you remember how it goes? It says, "O Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the life air." Is that how it goes? The life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, yeah. So we're here getting our fix of oxygen, spiritual oxygen that will invigorate us, right? To keep going. It's not easy. The whole current of Kali Yuga is flowing against us, right? But however, this Srimad Bhagavatam is so powerful, we're able to get the strength to swim against the current, right? And to hear. Actually, I was just noticing this morning that I have to be honest with you. I mean, this is totally a subjective observation, but I've never seen a form of Krishna so jolly, Nila Madhava. And I was thinking this morning too, how merciful Radharani looks. But Nila Madhava, I think his ears are the most prominent I've ever seen of any deities in our movement. And I was just reflecting, this must be because he's so anxious to hear the glories of his devotees. I mean, Krishna appreciates it when we glorify him. No, don't get me wrong. But he's not a narcissist. He's not just sitting around, waiting to be glorified for his own, The reason why Krishna takes pleasure in us glorifying him is because we're purifying ourselves. And of course, he likes to hear his own glories too, because his glories are infinite. So Krishna takes pleasure in hearing his glories. But he says to Arjuna, he who says in the Adi Purana, he who says he's my devotee, he's not my devotee, but he who says he's devotee of my devotee, he's my devotee. So Krishna also takes great pleasure in hearing the glories of his devotees. I was meditating, I was in the Columbus temple. In fact, they're building a new temple there. They just bought 50 acres of land, and they're working on beautiful 50 acres of land right near the downtown of Columbus, not too far away. So we used to have a temple there, and it was called Simply Wonderful. And there was a big university there, so the devotees used to serve out prasadam. So one time, Ohio State University, which is in Columbus, they decided to open a radio telescope outside of Ohio Wesleyan, which is in Delaware, Ohio, which is maybe like 40 miles north of Columbus. And this radio telescope, they called it the Big Ear. Right? And it was opened, they built it around 1960 or something, around that time. 62, 63. And the purpose of the Big Ear was to try to see if there's any higher intelligence in the universe that was trying to communicate with the earthlings. Right? So the Big Ear was just listening to different sounds, and every sound they heard, the scientists could determine, well, this is coming from the earth, this is coming from the sun. All the sounds, nothing was coming from another galaxy. Right? Then finally, 3 months before Srila Prabhupada left the planet, in 1977, on August 15th, at 10 o'clock at night, for 72 seconds, they picked up this frequency, the sound frequency at 1420 megahertz, and they could not explain it. It was coming, they're not quite sure, but they speculated it was coming from the constellation of Sagittarius. And they were so excited. They were so excited, at least for 72 seconds, and every explanation, for years, they went on trying to explain, well, what is it from the earth? But then they found out that, no, there's no possibility. I can't go into the scientific details, but you can study it. But it's called the wow signal, the big one. So the scientist who was analyzing the data, when he saw this for 72 seconds, this intergalactic sound, which the only plausible, it's the most plausible amongst the scientific community. It's considered to be the most plausible evidence for higher intelligence. Right? But they still, they're still at loss. The universe is so big. But for 72 seconds, so he wrote, wow. That's why it's called the wow signal. So just thinking, here Srila Prabhupada explains, Narottam Das Thakur says, Goloka Premadana Harinam Sankirtana. He says this, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is a transcendental sound coming from a higher dimension, from the spiritual world. He says, This Hare Krishna mantra, and this Srimad Bhagavatam, is not just 72 seconds. It's 18,000 verses, right? The Hare Krishna mantra has been vibrated for thousands of years. Just think, material scientists get so excited when they hear 72 seconds of sound vibration coming from what they believe another galaxy, and they get so excited. Just imagine if we had that much excitement to hear this sound vibration, which is being transported from the spiritual sky, right? But because we're so covered over, like Srila Prabhupada, he wrote, there's a beautiful prayer called Markina Bhagavad Dharma on 18th of September, 1965, day after Srila Prabhupada, the Jal Duta landed at the Commonwealth Pier in Boston, Massachusetts. The next day, he sat down, he wrote this beautiful prayer. It says, "My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul. I do not know why you've brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you must have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of passion and ignorance. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves so happy and satisfied. Right? Have you ever met someone like that? I'm just enjoying so much. I haven't got time to hear, read about this nonsense, right? That's some people think like that. Right? I thought like that. Therefore, they have no taste for hearing the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I don't know how they'll be able to understand it. But I know anything is possible because you are the supreme mystic. Right? So I'll come back to this. But the prayer is so beautiful, I just like to at least finish as much as I can remember. And Srila Prabhupada says, "O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can only repeat your message. So if you so desire, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. And I am sure when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they'll certainly feel gladdened and become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. O Lord," Prabhupada says, "I'm just like a puppet in your hands. So if you've brought me here to dance, make me dance, make me dance, make me dance, O Lord, as you like." And then Prabhupada says something which kind of just blows, at least it blows my mind. He says, "I have no devotion. I have no knowledge. But I do have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhakti Vedanta. And now, if you like, O Lord, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhakti Vedanta." Right? So, this prayer demonstrates to us the mood that Srila Prabhupada had, that he's transmitting to us through his Bhagavatam purports. Srila Prabhupada says, "I have no devotion. I have no knowledge." So easy to think, "Oh yes, I'm so devoted. Oh, I have so much knowledge." There's a beautiful verse in the Holy Bible. It says, "We may speak with the tongues of men and angels, But if we do not have love, we're clanging gongs and cymbals. Right? We may have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and have faith that can move mountains. But if we have love, we have nothing. We may give away all our possessions to the poor, right? And give over our body to hardship, and we may boast, "Oh, I am so holy and pure. Look at me." But if we have love, if we don't have love, we gain nothing. Right? This is like, and then it says, love is patient, love is kind, does not boast. Love is not proud. Love does not envy. Love is not self-seeking. Love is not easily angered. Does not keep record of wrongs. Does not dishonor others. Right? This is the same message of bhakti. The same mood that the transcendentalists, real transcendentalists, have imbibed. And Srila Prabhupada was an exemplary personification of that humble mood of bhakti. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada was very like a lion. Right? He used the term, to preach Krishna consciousness, you can be like a lamb at home, but a lion on the hunt. You have the heart of a Bengali mother and the courage of an Englishman. Srila Prabhupada, he grew up in Victorian, in the times of Victorian England, so English were very, courageous. So, the difficulty that we experience in the material world in hearing, to be able to hear in this humble mood and to be able to chant in the humble mood. Just like this morning we were reciting the 10 offenses against, chanting the holy name, right? The first offense, what's the first offense? Right. So that applies to when we're chanting, when we're hearing, when we're, all those offenses apply to both chanting and hearing. So one of the greatest impediments to our hearing is, it's like you hear about ADD, right? Attention deficit disorder. Right? I think everyone in the material world, when it comes to hearing about Krishna, we're all ADD. I know I am. Actually, there's a humorous quote by a modern actor. Right? He says, do you know how you can tell an actor? He says you can tell an actor if the conversation shifts to something beside themselves, they get this glazed look in their eyes. Right? You see, in the material world, when we fall into material consciousness, if people around us are talking about us, we're very attentive. Oh, yes, this is a nice conversation. Keep it going. Then if the conversation shifts to someone else, and when we fall into material consciousness, thinking we become, look at our watch, you become envious, This is the nature of the material world. We're wired like this by material nature, right? And it's because of this false ego. But what is this false ego? It's this identification with the body, thinking I am the body. But what is the kernel of this false ego? Jai Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai. Class ends at what time? 8:30, okay. So, in reading Srila Prabhupada's purports, forgive me, I can't remember the exact place, but he talks about three things. Adoration, right? Distinction, and fame. Right? Just like we have ADD, we have also ADF. In the material world, when we're infected by material consciousness, we're infected with ADF. And that's why Lord Chaitanya prays, Nadanang nadanang nasundarim kapitang va jagadish kamayai. Mama janmani janmani ishvare bhavatad bhaktir hoitaki tvayi. Oh Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causes, devotional service, birth after birth. So this is the consciousness of our original consciousness, is that we're free from this ADF, this hankering for adoration, distinction, and fame, right? Actually, one time a devotee, I think his name Govinda Das, he's a disciple of Radhanath Swami in Chowpatty. He was one time giving a lecture. He says there's 3 cancers to the soul, right? And the 3 C's. Does anyone know these? Have you heard this lecture? Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. What is your name, Prabhu? Can you say it louder? Because you told me before, and you said it so fast, I couldn't hear it. Murari Balabhadas. Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes. To complain, to criticize, and compare. So, we see in this verse, these verses this morning, Srimad Bhagavatam, that King Bahulashva, he's so in love with Krishna. He's not just in love with Krishna, but he's in love with Krishna's devotees. Do you notice that? And that he's actually feeding. He's taking great pleasure. He says, when they had eaten. He wasn't just saying, when Krishna had eaten. It says when all the devotees, it says, back up a verse. It describes how when he sees Krishna approaching his house from a distance with all the sages, right? So when he sees they are all eating, they're all taking prasadam to their full satisfaction, right? His happiness was just seeing the devotees happy, right? That's a devotee's happiness. In material consciousness, we're only happy if I'm happy. Right? If you're miserable, that's okay. It's not my problem, right? But if I'm happy, then life is good. But in spiritual consciousness, devotee's happy in seeing other devotees happy. He's unhappy if he sees other devotees or other living entities unhappy. Right? His heart is so big, Just like we were talking earlier about the big ear, right? So, unfortunately, they took the big ear down. They stopped listening, right? So to have that big ear, right? The ears, we need a big heart. Right? The heart has to be very big, very, very loving, very forgiving. Remember, one time Srila Prabhupada said that in one lecture, it was being paraphrased by His Holiness Radhanath Swami. He says that unless we're very inclined to be forgiving, our heart becomes infected with a vindictive mentality, which spoils our spiritual consciousness. So King Balash was completely the opposite. He was totally big-hearted. He was taking great pleasure in feeding the devotees. He spoke, actually I intentionally spoke very slowly the verse, because it says here he spoke slowly, right? So he spoke very slowly. And you notice, if you speak it slowly, I was actually noticing by speaking the verse slowly, I was actually getting more out of it. Just like, a musician, he may have certain scales to practice, and when he's playing his music, he comes to certain measures in the score where it's very difficult. So the cure for that, for a musician, is to play it very slowly. Right? That same principle is there in spiritual life. Sometimes we just have to take a deep breath and just listen and read slowly and absorb, everything that has been given. These spiritual, this spiritual sound vibration, seeds. So, this attitude of King Bahulashvas didn't come just automatically, but it came from a lifetime of meditation and service. So I'd like to tell a couple stories before wrapping up our class for your comments and reflections, and if any questions. There's one time, actually, I'd like to read this to you. It talks about, focus. Right? I think maybe that's the theme of today's class is focus. And to give you a little context, one time Arjuna, he was, after they'd been living incognito in the forest for 14 years, finally it got to it was announced by King Drupad that Draupadi, his daughter, was available for marriage. And he designed a Svayamvara ceremony whereby it's almost like a test. Do any of you take care of bees? Right? Well, I just heard about it. I was just in Dallas Temple, and this devotee told me he takes care of bees. When the bees, give their queen has to fly, right? And as she's flying, the drones are flying after her because they impregnate her. The drone that impregnates her in midair. Right? That's how it's designed. So what she does is she keeps flying higher and higher. And those bees who can't go the drones who can't fly high enough, they don't make it. But that one drone is able to keep up with the queen because she can fly higher. He's the bee that she'll mate with. Right? So it's like a selection process, right? Nature is designed for the bees to mate with the queen. So similarly, King Drupad, he designed a Swayamvara ceremony where only the topmost male, king could have the hand of his wife Draupadi. And it was so complex. I'm sure many of you know the story. Arjuna had looked into, many contestants came forward. They had to, it's very visual here in this temple. I guess you can imagine at the top of the temple, a wheel, right? And behind that wheel is spinning, and there's a fish. Right? But imagine it much higher. Right? And looking into a reflection and taking a bow, right? While you're looking into the reflection, having to pierce that fish, right? As the chakra is spinning. Right? So Arjuna did that. So after this happened, this is what Srila Prabhupada writes in the 7th canto, in the purport to Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. He says, Arjuna, as a result of piercing the Adhara Mina, right, or the fish within the chakra, achieved the valuable gain of Draupadi. Similarly, if with the arrow of chanting the holy name of the Lord, one pierces Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, by dint of performing this heroic activity, one receives the benefit of returning home back to Godhead. Isn't that beautiful? Did you ever pick up your japa beads and think, this is a heroic activity? I know I haven't, but when I read that, I was thinking, yes, this chanting of the holy name is the most we think of hero in society as someone who's like, really physically strong, or who does some great deed, they invent something, right? But the most heroic is to actually be able to chant the Lord's holy name. Because what happens, as soon as that one is able to chant with that same focus that Arjuna had, just imagine, just like earlier when he was as a student. Right? Remember, do you know that story about when he was with Dronacharya? Anyone know that story? Yeah. Right? He was. You want to tell it? Oh, okay. Well, it's a beautiful story. It's so instructive. It is so instructive. One time, Dronacharya wanted to test his disciples, the Kurus and the Pandavas. So he gathered them together, and he put this wooden bird on the top of the tree. Right? So he asked them, Yudhishthira, to come forward. And Yudhishthira picked up his bow. He was getting ready to release the arrow. And then before Drona would let him release the arrow, he said, "What do you see?" And Yudhishthira said, "Oh, I see the tree, I see the bird, I see the sky." And Dronacharya said, "Step down." And he did that with all the Pandavas. Then he went to the Kurus, but he didn't do Arjuna yet. Right? He was saving the best for last. Then he asked Duryodhana, this is very interesting, I find this really fascinating. He asked Duryodhana to step forward. Now Duryodhana was a politician, okay? He was very sneaky, very clever, right? And he could be very nice, right? He could be very, 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 very gentlemanly. But his motive was to get power, right? His motive was, he was selfishly motivated. So he was thinking, I know what, I'm going to massage the ego of my guru, right? And when he asks me what I see, I'm going to say, I see him as well. Because he's thinking, that's what my guru wants. So Duryodhana comes very proud, thinking he's got it all solved, he's got it all figured out, right? He gets there, he has his bow, he has his arrow, and then Drona says, "What do you see?" "I see the bird, I see the tree, and I see you, O Gurudev." So he's thinking, aha, I've captured his heart. And what does Dronacharya say? Step down. Right? And then it came time for Arjuna. And Arjuna lifted his bow, aimed his arrow. "What do you see, Arjuna?" Arjuna said, "I see the bird." "What else do you see, Arjuna?" "I see the bird." "What else do you see?" "I just see the bird." When Arjuna said this, Dronacharya's hair stood on end with ecstasy. This disciple knows my heart. He has developed that focus. "Release your arrow." And Arjuna released the arrow and pierced the eye of the wooden bird. So this is the focus. Remember, Tadvaja Maharaj was giving a lecture in Dallas last Sunday. 2 Sundays ago, I believe it was. And he's talking about the internal potency. Because we're the Tasta Shakti, we have a tendency, we can either fall into, at any second, with the speed of the mind, we can either fall into material consciousness or spiritual consciousness. So he was emphasizing how simply by hearing, we can enter into the internal potency of the Lord. So for me, that was very nourishing to hear how when we're chanting the Lord's holy name, as long as we keep our focus on the holy name, we are inside the internal potency of the Lord, and we're getting the blessings of Srimati Radharani. So I will stop here for today. Thank you so much for your association, thank you all for your presence on this planet. There's not so many, comparatively speaking to all the billions of people on this planet, devotees are such rare, unique, special beings. So thank you for all of your devotional presence and services that you do. Any questions, any comments, any clarifications, corrections, reflections? Can anyone remember one thing that was said in class today? I'm done.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to make a comment on one of the things you mentioned about reading slowly and really absorbing the material. That was something that Keshava Bharati Maharaj was reflecting upon recently, since he's been doing the recordings of the audiobooks. He said he's had to change his way of reading and really focus and read clearly, pronounce everything properly, and he's just been glorifying that method of really, because it really brings everything out, is what he was sharing. And we experience this in the readings with him when he's really taking his time. You don't get through the books so quickly, but I guess it deepens the experience for everyone. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for saying that. I was listening to, when you spoke that, I was actually listening to your voice, just like it says here in today's verse, with a gentle voice. Your voice is very gentle. Thank you for both the content and the form. That's
Thank you for a nice class, Prabhu. I was reflecting on, it seems like, I could be wrong, but Krishna never had met Bahulashva. So in this verse, it's, he's the witness. It's saying he's the soul of everyone, and he's the witness. And then Bahulashva was saying, I've always been meditating on your lotus feet, and now I actually get to see them. So I was just reflecting on how Krishna reciprocates with his devotees. He reciprocates with everyone, actually, but I guess especially with his devotees, he reciprocates their love and devotion. And I thought of a similar instance was the wives of the yogic brahmanas. How I don't think Krishna had met them, but he told the cowherd boys that, I have some devotees that I want to reciprocate with, and you ask the wives to feed you, to bring some food. And I thought that's an amazing point, and I guess the faith in that would encourage us to develop that focus that your class was about, that faith in, Krishna's actually listening. I think Shachinandan Maharaj gave a tip and some advice on chanting japa, and he said that if you just think that Krishna is hearing me right now, then you'll be able to chant nicely. So, thanks so much for talking about hearing. That was some really nice points. And that's just one thing I was thinking of, how maybe I could apply this focus principle.
Thank you.
Any other elaboration? I don't know if you have any other thoughts about that. How to remember Krishna. That's kind of this, remembering his lotus feet. How can we remember Krishna?
While you're speaking, I was just meditating how profound what you're saying is. It's very deep, and it could be a class in itself, the whole discussion. Just the fact that Krishna is his consciousness is so all-pervasive. And how, even though you're saying like King Maharaj Bahulashva had never met Krishna, before this, but Krishna was aware. And like, he's totally aware. In the same way, he's totally aware of us. You know, that's what you said kind of brought home to me, is that Krishna is, at this very moment, is totally, fully aware of us. And at some point in our spiritual journey, who knows, we might be in a similar situation where we've got Krishna's feet on our lap, you know, and we're, you know, it's a matter of time, you know. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the wonderful class. I was reflecting on a point within Prabhupada's prayer where he said that they had given the name Bhaktivedanta, and now he's asking Krishna to fulfill that. And I just kind of was reflecting that any names that are given to us, that are applied to us, can only be truly fulfilled when we surrender to Krishna, our Guru, to fulfill those things through us. So if we allow that to come through us from them, then we can live up to all the designations that were given.
Yes. Thank you very much. On that blissful note, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Nilamala ki.